Hey there, it's that fantasy chick. Back again for another stream, feeling incredibly, incredibly sleepy. um, I don't know what it is about this time of the day, but it just makes me feel so sleepy, and I really need that. But um, here to talk about the series finale of Superman and Lois. Um, so yesterday was the finale. Um, it's finally over. It was the very last show in the Arrowverse. Although in this last season they did a lot to separate it from the Arrowverse. Because like in the first season, Diggle had come and he had guest starred on the show, and that let you know, okay, they're still connected to the Arrowverse. But by the time you get to the fourth season, a lot of stuff they retconned a lot of stuff that had happened. Like first of all, they had their one son um on the Arrowverse on Candor. Is that what it's called? And then, in this last season, they showed that they had both the sons on Earth and all this other stuff. So, like, yeah, this last season pretty much retconned it out of the Arrowverse before it became the final Arrowverse show to end. So, so on to, well, okay. So, how I feel about the show overall, that first season, I was like, it was okay. It was okay for me that first season. The little boys, the teenage angst kind of got on my nerves. And I know I say this after saying how much of a big fan I am of Smallville. Smallville was nothing but teen angst, but Smallville was also 20 years ago, and I could handle teen angst a lot better 20 years ago than I can right now. So I was just, and I also felt a certain way about them not telling them boys that their father was Superman. So for the first, umpteen years of their life, they thought he was a deadbeat dad. Not that he was a superhero. So, you know, but I feel like every season the show got better and better. Every season the show got better and better. And this fourth season, even though it was truncated, it only had 13 episodes, which is sad. They really could have let them have a full 22 episodes. But it was, they packed a lot of punch into those 13 episodes. So I think it was the best season. I think the fourth season was the best season out of the four. Each season got better and better, and the fourth season was the best season. Happy Jonathan got his powers. That was great because I felt so sorry for him. I'm like, why wouldn't he get his powers? He's half Kryptonian, just like his brother. But I guess it was delayed, and you could maybe think it has something to do. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. Something about that half human side delayed their powers because Superman came onto this earth with powers, but they didn't get powers until they, realized their father was Superman. So yeah. So don't understand that. Happy Jonathan got his powers. Happy that they, that the brothers were this close to doing what are those twins? Wonder Twin powers activate. They was so close to saying that. Wonder Twin powers activate, but instead they went to the Fraternals. So yeah, last night's episode. seeing that previously on made me feel a certain way. Just all the stuff they went through each season, no, each episode of this season. And, okay, now we're in this place where Lex Luthor has done the absolute most. And now he's in a stolen suit from someone who works for the Department of Defense. I'm like, okay, no evidence that he's been doing all this other stuff, but he is freely riding around in a stolen suit. So that, and I was like, and we all know the government ever since 9/11 has, they created what was that, Homeland, the Department of Homeland Security. They've been able, and even before then, because that was what the whole Guantanamo Bay was about. They've been able to say, for whatever reason, if you do certain crimes, the government's able to snatch you up and not even give you a trial if they don't want to. So he stole a suit from somebody who works for the Department of Defense. You don't think the Department of the Defense would have grabbed his ass and put him in a black site for the rest of his life? They wouldn't even have to worry about him getting off on a trial. There will be no trial. There will be no appeals. Lex Luthor would have been on a black site for the rest of his life for stealing that suit from John. He just would have. In the America I live in now, Lex Luthor would have went away, especially because the DOD knew that he was the one who killed General Lane. Like, several people saw General Lane FaceTiming with Lex Luthor before the monster killed him. The DOD did not need evidence. The DOD did not need a trial. They did not need justice. They don't need to care about your rights. They could have went, picked up Lex Luthor, and kept him underground somewhere for the rest of his life. But I digress. So yeah, him flying around in this suit. So first, they have to take down the monster. And then, the Bizarro turned Doomsday. So I don't know. It just felt like, wow, why didn't you do this last time? But I'm happy they did it. I'm happy that they used the sun, because, when he took him into the sun, it healed Superman. But it also, even though this is Bizarro and the sun has opposite effect on him, I felt like it healed him too. I felt like when they brought him when he was in the sunlight, he remembered who he was. He remembered what he was, and he knew he did not want to continue living, as this monster. Because, like, when Lois reminded him of who he was, and on another planet, I was your wife, he left Lex Luthor and was trying to get back to his home world. So it makes sense for him to be like, okay, I remember me, I remember my old life, I remember who I used to be, and I don't want to be this anyway. So he allowed Superman to push him into the sun. And a little part of me was hoping that Superman's extended time and like the sun would like not just heal him, but healed his old man heart somehow. Like, like maybe if Superman just went and spent some extended time in the sun, his heart would heal and he would go back to being, this semi-immortal. I mean, he's not immortal, but he was going to live a long, long life. But instead, he just lived, 60 some years, I guess. Well, something, by this time, Superman is in his 40s. So he lived to be, in his 70s, I guess. But it's hard to tell. It was really hard to tell how old he was supposed to be. Okay, so they killed the monster. Um, then John went and broke down Milton Fine. And I'm like, okay, so they had kind of a brainiac, you know. So I was like, are we gonna find out if he's an alien? But they just used the name Milton Fine. They didn't show whether or not he was an alien, whether or not he was a brainiac. He's just Milton Fine. He's just a genius that they named Milton Fine. Okay. Um, I was kind of hoping that they would, you know, reveal him to be also an alien and blah 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 blah. But I guess maybe if we'd had a 22 episode season, we would have got that, but not in 13. Um, so John came in with the TOD, and I think that's what I'm talking about. Once he found out who stole his super suit, he was able to go in with the DOD and grab that fool up. They knew Lex Luthor had the suit. The DOD could have ran in and grabbed Lex Luthor as soon as he took that suit. They didn't need to know the exact person who took the suit. They knew Lex Luthor had it. They knew where Lex Luthor was. They could have went in, grabbed him in a suit, and put him underground. But again, I digress. So they got Milton to I guess he had shut down their internet, so they couldn't for once broadcast what Lex Luthor was doing. So they were, so we didn't get to see Homegirl and everything that she said. We just know that she talked to the world and she admitted everything that Luthor done, and then you get to see Superman bring Luthor back after he kicked his ass. I was so happy when he was, because even though you saw it in the promo, it was still real nice to see him. He was like, "You've been coming after me, bam, my wife, my family." he was going in. He was going in, and Luthor was, and it's like all the tumbling like Luthor was doing in that suit. He was getting seasick. He knew he was getting seasick because ain't no way you doing all this tumbling in the air like that. Your stomach was dropped to the ground. He was sick. He was really, really, really sick. But yeah, so he got Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor went to jail for real this time. Lex Luthor thinking he about to go be the king of the jail, but no, why can't I remember his name? Whatever. It was the dude who I was like, last year I was like, okay, we don't have Lex Luthor, but this dude is very Lex Luthor like. And that's who I feel like, even once they brought on Lex Luthor, I was like, this dude to me still feels more like Lex Luthor than this Lex Luthor. Now the only difference is this dude had they both had a wife and a child, but this dude had real love in his heart, unlike Lex Luthor. That dude was just, I'm sorry. A lot of people liked Superman and Lois as Lex Luthor. I didn't like him. He was a thug. He didn't feel like the Lex Luthor I was used to. But Homeboy, who they put in jail last season, felt very much like Lex Luthor to me. He felt like the dude going around doing evil things, hiding behind his good acts. Now, what separated him from Lex Luthor is that he wasn't just doing these good acts for show. He was trying to build up the neighborhood in which he lived, which is also why him and his wife put Lex Luthor in jail because they're like, he's dangerous. We can't. He gonna tear this whole neighborhood. We need to get rid of him. So they put him in. They put him in jail because they were like, they put him in jail because he was going to tear down everything that they were building for their neighborhood. Um, so it's only fitting that A, he's at the top of the totem pole in prison. He was like, you gonna make a good seat for me. I was like, I wish they would have showed him sitting on Lex Luthor. Oh, I hated that fool. I hated him. I hated him. I hated him. And it would have been good to see him be subdued and cowed. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see that. But also, it made sense that, even though he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life, him and Superman decided, now that I got rid of the biggest problem in my life, which was Lex Luthor, I want to do more than just save people. I want to leave a legacy. I want to make this world a better place. So he worked with Homeboy because he was already doing good things for his neighborhood. That Superman realized, last year he had to confront the fact that he wasn't doing nothing for those people. Yeah, this guy is doing all this illegal stuff. Yeah, he killed these people. Yeah, he did all this stuff, but he was doing stuff for people that you were ignoring. So Superman wanted to start, helping people. So it was good. They had a good solid, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. I kept having to rewind, so I lost track of how much time it was, but I think it was about 15 to 20 minutes of prologue. Because, I think the prologue, yeah, they caught Lex Luthor. And then a year, we skipped to a year later. So you skip to a year later, and Lana and John are getting married. And, you see Kyle and what's her face are having another baby. Don't know if they married or if they just baby mama and baby daddy. And let's see, a whole bunch of stuff. Lana's daughter is like, yeah, after living abroad for a semester, Smallville is not for me. Big surprise. Like, who's going to go live in the world and be like, yeah, I'm going to come back to Smallville? No one but Superman. And even he didn't really live in the world. He went to Metropolis. He went from Smallville to Metropolis. He's been around the world, but he's been around the world briefly. Like, he'll go to different places and he'll save people, but then he'll come back to Metropolis. He never stayed like a tourist. So, yeah. And that's another thing, the difference between her and Superman. Like, he can go wherever he want. He can do whatever he want. But one of Superman's biggest wants in life is to feel normal. And Smallville made him feel normal. So that's why Smallville is just so important to him. And especially now that the whole world know who he and his family are, he's safer staying in Smallville than anywhere. Like, Smallville has known him his whole life, and they're going to let him be. Like, when all these other weeks when people were coming in and you had like crowds surrounding Jonathan and Jordan and paparazzi and all, these were people coming from outside of Smallville to muck with their life. Smallville itself, like, they had, before he said anything to the world, they had figured out that he was Superman, and they let them be. So it was like, okay, this is the place where he can belong, where he can be Superman to the world, and they're just gonna let him live his life. So that was really cool. Um, and what else is that? So we get to see grown up Jonathan and Jordan, which was a trip because I'm pretty sure it was grown up Jonathan. I can't, like, they both had that dark hair, and it was hard to tell who was supposed to be who, but I think it was grown up Jonathan. Um, is in real life Lois Lane's husband. So I was like, wait a minute. They had her husband come play her son. It was cute. They showed that he actually directed an episode. A couple of episodes back, he directed an episode, which I thought was cute. So he came on and he played her son. And I was like, they look the same age. How is she his mom? But like you saw, I think when her and Clark were on the porch, you saw that they put some like old age makeup on, but the makeup was very slight. So when the boys first come in, you could barely see it. So you can barely see them age. And I'm like, all these people are the same age. But it was really cute, you know. Like I said, he lived into who I think his 70s, but he did not look 70s. It might have been them trying to balance between, okay, he's Superman and he's gonna die earlier, but he's still gonna look very young. Maybe that's what they were doing, because he still looked very young. He still looked barely 10 years older than his own sons, and he was supposed to be in his 70s. So, yeah, and he did not have, he was supposed to be in the 70s and he had a gray beard, but he didn't have gray hair. So maybe they were doing the whole because he was Superman. Even though he's going to die from this old man's heart he's got, maybe they did the whole, he still was going to, age very slowly. So maybe that's what was going on with him. But they still didn't age Lois that much. Lois did not age that much. But it was cool to see him be a grandpa. And I was like, okay, we didn't have enough time and enough prologue to go into it, but it would be nice to know these grandchildren who are only a quarter Kryptonian. Do they get any powers? Like, are they really fast? Are they really strong? Do they have, laser eyes? It would be interesting to know if there's like because those two boys had a lot of grandchildren. I mean, had a lot of children between the two of them. I swear if it looked like it was about 10 kids in the house. It was a lot of kids in the house, at least 8, probably 10. And if people who come from big families, fights with your cousins hit a different level when y'all all got powers. I remember when we were young and we used to visit my grandmother in Mississippi. If everybody came down at the same time, that was about 20 something cousins all in this little house in Mississippi. Out in the middle, just out in the middle of the country. And our grandma would not want to put on the AC. If we complained about it being hot, they would tell us to go outside and sit under the shade tree. And under the shade tree was one swing, and for whatever reason, a basketball hoop on a tree. But whatever. And when I was I was like one of the youngest of the cousins. So when everybody was there, I didn't even try to get on that swing because I knew it was just not happening. There was too many cousins and so many fights occurred under that tree. But also being one of the youngest, I was never in it. I was never one of the ones fighting because I was a baby and they'd probably get in trouble if I got into a fight. But I do remember one time two of my cousins got into a fight inside the house, and it was the funniest fight because one cousin, he was talking, he was yapping, and it was city cousin, country cousin, city cousin, yap, and country cousins like say one more thing. I'm gonna jump you. And he said, one more thing. And she flew across the room and jumped on him. And my siblings, my other cousins, they were trying their best to break up the fight without letting our parents know. Our parents were at the back of the house, we were at the front of the house. So it was this silent fight with silent with everybody else trying to silently break them up. And when our parents looked towards the front of the house, like there was some people on her and some people on him, and they was just pulling them back and forth. And they were like, are the kids playing tug of war? What is going on? But it was not tug of war. And they were just trying to break up a fight before we all got in trouble. Because it would, let's just say my grandmother did not need powers to discipline us. So yeah, so I'm like, all them cousins in the house, in the country, in the middle, out in the country with powers, oh, those would have been some fights. Those would have been some fights. Because yeah, they out in the country, out in Kansas. Yeah, Smallville, Kansas. So it was very interesting. It was interesting. After a while, it went on for a long time. The prologue. I was like, okay, happy to see, John and Lana got married. Although they did not show, talk about that. Like they really didn't show. Like, okay, we talked about Lana's daughter and I'm leaving Smallville, but what happened with Natalie? So we really didn't get, what she did with her life. Did she go into work for the DOD? That would have been interesting to see if she would have grown up and if she would have taken General Lane's place, as his honorary granddaughter. I think that would have been a nice little touch. But like I said, it went on for a long time because we saw the wedding. We saw the boys come and get their own suits, and they became the little super family. And we saw him and Lois, changing the world and helping people, and all that was interesting. And then but then I felt like once Lois died, I was like, okay, Lois died, and then he got a dog. And then him and his dog did a whole bunch of stuff together. And then they took naps together. And oh, why did I wait so long to get a dog? And it was Crypto. Superman did have a dog named Crypto, but he didn't wait till he was old to get him. But oh, he was old. And then finally, oh, my heart gave up. But then I didn't die. And then I was able to go home and die around my sons. And then finally, he get, after he dies, then finally he starts seeing people. He starts seeing everyone in his life. But I'm like, these people ain't dead. Because he sees his sons. The sons ain't dead. He sees John and Lana. They're not dead. He sees all these different people. And so, but it killed me when he saw Lex Luthor. And, Lex Luthor was standing there, sitting there all, shivering and shaking and scared. And he forgave him in the afterlife. So so I was like, is Lex Luthor dead, or did he just forgive him when he died? Like, I'm like, the only person who you knew was dead was Lana, and her they showed her in her little dress, and they showed her in her dress, and waiting for him in the afterlife. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Everybody got their little last moment, but I was like, man, this is going on for a long. It went on for a long time. It went on for a long time. It was it was how do you say yeah, it just was extended. It went on for a long time. Just long, and I get this is the series finale of an epic show, and they wanted to wrap everything up, and we wanted to see, you know, Superman go into the afterlife, and the show is Superman and Lois, so they should reunite in the afterlife. But like I said, that went on for a long time. So overall, how did I feel about the series finale? I'm glad, as much as I did not like this Lex Luthor, mainly because he was just an angry thug. And I felt like Lex Luthor would just be smoother than that. I am glad that they got Lex Luthor for the final season. And he definitely was given final season villain. He was worse than anybody they have ever gone up against. And I was like, see, this is why Lex Luthor is Superman's ultimate villain, because it's not about, like, Superman has all the power. He has all the power. So it's not about physical power. It's about brain power. And it's about Lex Luthor being evil, it's about somebody being so intelligent and so cunning, but also being evil. Like, he is a psychopath. So, like, so Superman had to find ways to beat him without his power. Like, Superman can never beat Lex Luthor with his power. So he was giving final season villain. It was good. That was good. So it was good that they pretty much they very neatly wrapped up his little arc. They wrapped it up with a bow. They took care of Milton. No, they took care of the monster. They took care of Milton. Then they took care of Lex. And then now you're in jail, and you lost your final appeal. So you're going to be there forever. So, and also, you're not at the top of the food chain like you was for 17 years. 17 years you ran that jail. Not anymore. So that part I liked. Because, like, especially when you have a series finale, I do like a prologue. I do like to see what their life becomes after after the show ends. So I do like a series finale. And I mean, I like a prologue. I like to see, okay, so this is, um like a good prologue for a show, very unlike Superman and Lois. Will and Grace had a very nice little prologue, but when they brought the show back, they just threw that prologue out the window. That was like, yeah, that prologue doesn't matter anymore. It's like it never happened. So you're just hoping that they don't with this habit of rebooting shows, like, don't undo a very good ending. Don't do that. But Of course, when they do Superman and Lois, if they do another Superman series, it's going to be a completely different Superman, completely different timeline, storyline, blah, 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 blah. So this prologue is safe. So yeah, liked how they tied up the Lex Luthor storyline, like the prologue, even though it went a little long after Lois died. And it took forever once he was in the afterlife to make it to Lois. But overall it was satisfying for me. It was satisfying for me. I do have a poll. Um let's see. Okay, so how satisfied with the series finale? Oh, how satisfied with the series finale of Superman and Lois are you? 75%. It was awesome. 25%. Meh, it was the finale. So most of the people of the poll thought it was awesome. And 25% was like, meh, it was a finale. It did what it had to do, but you know, it wasn't the it wasn't the I guess for those 25%, it wasn't probably what they anticipated, which is why I don't like to anticipate things. I feel like I enjoy things more when I go in not knowing what to expect, not having any expectations, not having any anticipations. It's just it's really nice to just go in and not expect anything. So that's all for Superman and Lois. It's over. It's done. Arrowverse is definitely done. But we're getting a new universe. You know, uh was it Creature Commandos? I think Creature Commando starts this month. I have to look, but Creature Commando starts this month. So we're getting a brand new DC where if you're in a cartoon, like they're merging the animated and live action world. So you can do the voice in the animated show, and then you can also play it in live action. So that's going to be interesting. That's something that Marvel hasn't done, so that's interesting. So I'm excited to see what this new DC will be like. I'm glad we're getting these other shows. I wish they would have given us other movies than just another Superman. Um, I'm just tired of always getting Superman and Batman. Like there are so many things that we could have started with, but he has a whole plan. So I'm gonna be happy to see what he's gonna do with that whole plan. Yesterday was a full day for me before I saw Superman and Lois, the series finale. I went to the movies and I saw Wicked and Gladiator 2 back to back. So I was definitely overstimulated yesterday. So, I have a lot of opinions about those. So if you want to come back another day and talk about Wicked and or Gladiator, or you want to do those in two different sessions, let me know. We can come back. I definitely have to come back and talk about Gladiator too. I definitely have to talk about Gladiator too. So, like, let me know if you want to talk about either that and Wicked or that or Wicked in the comments below. Also, I think that's I don't know what I don't know what else. I mean, it's December. The year is about to be over. So, yeah, the year is about to be over. I can't think of anything else I'm going to go see. Probably not going to see. I think it's a Lion King something coming up. Oh, I have to still, I do want to see Moana too, but I can't think of anything else that's supposed to be happening this year. But so yeah, let me know if you want to talk about Gladiator 2 and or Wicked. But in the meanwhile, thanks for watching.